Santosh, I want to start with you and Apple and Trump's revised tariff plans there, Santosh. Here's how Angelo Zeno over at CFRA, here's how he put it, Santosh, told his clients, Apple is clearly the biggest winner across the technology space, avoiding a worst case scenario. We view the temporary exemption as going a long way toward providing better visibility and no longer expect drastic revenue and EPS revisions to our forward estimates. Santosh, you hear that analysis. Does it make sense to you?
Absolutely. Great to see you. I think Apple had the biggest to lose, had the most to lose in this whole fight. I think this gives them time, gives them 90 days at least to kind of regroup, get their supply chain together while the atmosphere de-escalates. Maybe there's fruitful outcome of this trade negotiations with China. Hopefully, that's a long shot, but hopefully something good comes off it. But they have 90 days to really figure that out. So that's a good one. That's a big help. And so overall, I would say, I agree with the analyst there that they are the biggest beneficiary. It benefits others as well, but more so for Apple because their iPhone comes from there and that's their biggest growth engine. So I think they don't want that disrupted, but they need to move fast and they need to be strategic. And that's the whole idea. And they get the time to do it. So that's good.
Santosh, Adam here. I totally agree with you. It makes perfect sense that Apple would be up on getting a break from tariffs. What I can't figure out, maybe you can help us understand it, is Nvidia. Right now they're going to build chips and AI platforms here in the U.S., so certainly tariffs aren't going to be relevant for them once that's up and running in a year. And yet the stock is barely up today, maybe 0.5%. Can you help us understand why Nvidia isn't up more?
Yeah, I think Nvidia has a lot of other things going as well. There is this suspicion that AI has run its course, things like that. Maybe people have already got their chips already. So things like that. Then we had DeepSeek, and there's some alternatives to Nvidia. Maybe you can do things cheaper and faster in some other ways. So that total dominance of Nvidia is being threatened, though I don't believe that. Nvidia is still the major player. You need them for everything from robotics to cars to everything else. They are the core piece of all the things that are going on or that are coming down the pike. So I don't think Nvidia is at risk, but on the face of it, I think there is a risk. There is that feeling that maybe it's not smooth sailing. They need to do some reinvention and be ahead of the game. So there are some challenges ahead. So they had other issues going as well. And Nvidia is playing the tariff game pretty well. They're well positioned. They're already in Arizona, and they agreed to spend 500 billion. I think that's great as well. So I think they're doing the right things. So I think they're okay. But overall, I think AI, the whole setup around AI is kind of not as smooth as it was before.
Santosh, I'm curious, as you roll into earnings season now, and we start hearing from these chip companies, do you think, Santosh, we're going to hear from chip companies, they're going to tell us a lot of their chip customers stocked up on chips, kind of pulled forward demand ahead of those tariffs?
Yeah, we're going to hear some of that, a lot of it. We don't know exactly, but I think definitely that was the sign that people have pulled forward. And even from China itself, and a lot of things happened there as well in terms of pulling forward and all that stuff in terms of the export-import imbalance there. So you are going to see some of that. But I think fundamentally, I believe that AI has still a long ways to go. There is tremendous demand. Maybe there's some reorder in terms of who's leading it and who's not. And maybe the competitive landscape just got wider, but overall AI is needed, and the companies that play it well will do well. And Nvidia is right there in that whole space, though they'll have company going forward.
Santosh, let me jump back in here. Got a little pause, and I don't want to miss that opportunity. Microsoft owns, call it about half of OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT. But I feel like that's a pretty sloppy way to play it, right? Because Microsoft is so big and ultimately OpenAI is such a small fraction, even if it's going to be larger. What's the best way to play AI from your point of view?
Well, I think I would continue to play the chips, but I think as we move along, the graph is going to move more and more towards the application side. So I think you're going to see Microsoft and other Googles and all the other places that provide the applications, and a lot of startups that are in the wings that we cover, that we follow and we invest in, they're also coming up. So that's the best way to play down the road. In the near term, it was all about the infrastructure layer, the chip layer, the top layer, kind of get the frontier models together. But now it's going to be applications. So you're going to see a number of winners on that side, and let's see where that goes. But definitely the graph is definitely moving to the side, moving right and up as the applications take more and more shape. And we saw that during the internet revolution as well. In the 90s, initially you had all the infrastructure side, and then we got the Amazons and Googles and all the other applications, the pet.com and all that, all those come in. And you're going to see the same thing, number of applications, AI applications that will come to you pretty soon, probably in the next 1 or 2 years. If not, that's the maximum. I'm expecting 2026, you'll start hearing more and more success stories in terms of application providers.
Santosh, we started with Apple. I want to circle back to the iPhone maker. I'm curious, Santosh, how you see Tim Cook's manufacturing footprint evolving over time, Santosh. Would you expect to see a lot more iPhone manufacturing, for example, in India, as maybe Apple tries to mitigate these US-China tensions? I was struck by this stat. I don't know if you saw this, Santosh. Bloomberg, citing sources, says Apple's now making 1 in 5 iPhones in India. I'm curious, do you see that footprint there just continue to expand for Cook?
Absolutely. I think India is the first place to go, and it's been going on for a while now. We've heard that, and I was in India recently. I saw there's a lot of chatter about it, Apple, and how production is ramping up there as well. So I think you're going to see India as the first stop, but I think President Trump doesn't want that either. He wants everything to come here. So I don't know how much time he has in staying with India and building there. But in the near term, it was all about Vietnam and India. So I think India is definitely going to be the biggest beneficiary of building this. They have the manpower. They just need to build that infrastructure around that. And that's also improving. But all that takes time. You need a lot of manpower. You need the technology, you need the retooling. So all that takes a lot of time. And India has the capability of doing it. It's going to take some time. But that's going to be the biggest beneficiary. That country is going to be the biggest beneficiary.
Santosh, let me ask you, what about domestic manufacturing, U.S. manufacturing of iPhones? In your opinion, is that financially tenable for Cook?
Well, he has promised to do it. He's committed to spending a lot of money. It's going to take some time. The cost is definitely going to go up. iPhones are going to cost a lot more than made in China or India or other places. So yes, he'll come in if he's forced to do it. Hopefully there is some economic sense, and even President Trump comes to some kind of a off-ramp in terms of forcing everyone to come here and say, okay, strategically, you do there, you have an advantage there, but have something here, some percentage here. So I hope there is some kind of a compromise in there, because you really can't get everything here and expect to get cheap phones here. It's going to be an expensive proposition, at least initially. Down the road, maybe you get the scale and all that stuff. But initially, it's not easy to get everything over and expect to buy $1,000 iPhones or whatever the cost is right now, and see this and just expect to have that. It's not going to happen. It's going to take some time.
Santosh, always good to see you. Always good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.